There are magazines in every niche. Me, my wife, our friends. Connect the right people, get the discounts. Is the story sellable? Good morning, everybody. Why is this here? Put my nice shirt on today. I'm going to talk about how the writing process starts, from finding the story to observing the story to I'm thinking that some stories just stumble upon me. Others are a bit more planned, I would say. This, for example, this magazine, it was more a project that went over time, where I always, when my travels bring my camera, then after a while I started photography at night. I said I'm going to go out when no one else is out at 4 a.m. In different countries. This is in India. There's a dog sleeping with people's feet. You get some unique insight to a city and you see things. This is in Singapore. And then I sort of started commenting on like social injustice, isolation, drug addicts sitting out there in Istanbul, Turkey. Yes, I talked a bit to them as well. I didn't just snap a photo and then now I've got you. I talked to them, trying to be a nice person. That's really important when you're a journo, is understanding your subjects and actually getting to know them a bit. This was people picking up garbage in Thailand, because in Bangkok it's a big problem. The point being is that some stories, they develop over time, but others are really, planned out a bit more. And this video is how that I started that. This one can be good, I think. This is a good one. Okay, it's when we went on a sailing trip to Turkey and Greece. Or it was just supposed to be Turkey, because when you sail to another country you have to get a new permit, license, it costs money. We would not have gone there if we knew. I decided I want to go on a sail trip. That's basically how I've approached most of my decisions in life. I want to do this, I want to do, okay, let's do it. The great thing about being able to write and knowing a bit about photography is that you can bring your camera and your pen and you can make a story out of it. And that story, believe it or not, there are magazines, like I've been doing it for 15 years. There's so many magazines out there in every niche that wants to hear your story. So how I plan it out. This one was very planned. It was sailing in Turkey. The turquoise coast. Nice little wordplay there. I went there with me, my wife, our 3-month-old daughter, and 2 couples that are our friends. So we chartered a boat. Yes, I knew how to sail before, because I bought a boat without knowing how to sail here in Norway. A small shitty boat. It was like, what was it? £1,000 or something. And I was like, I'm going to learn how to sail. I hoisted sails and almost crashed straight into shore again. So, if I want to do something, I try it and it ends up being somewhere else, which in this example was here. So I was like, okay, now I know to start sail well enough. So let's find someone that rents out sailboats in a nice Mediterranean country. That's when research starts. Croatia, you have to have a license and permit. In Turkey, you don't on vessels under a certain size. Research, okay. And it will be Turkey. Are there cheap flights to Turkey? Well, there's cheap flights to somewhere 3 hours off. There is a closer airport, but those airlines are cheaper. That can be a base point for planning travel journalism. The main plane routes. Like there's interesting stuff and there's interesting stories and trips and fun to be have anywhere in the world. That's a common misconception, that I have to go somewhere crazy into the mountains where no one's ever been before. No, close to a charter flight, wherever. If you're living in Australia, you can charter flights to Indonesia. I'll show you what you can do there. You can do mountain biking on Bali, which is a story I did, which I sold to Asia, Germany, New Zealand, Australia, and a bunch of countries. So that's your charter flight. Our charter flight here in Scandinavia, that's like Spain, Turkey, Antalya, Malaga, I don't know where. You just have to go there and then go a bit off the beaten track. So cheap flights, where are the cheap flights? Okay, Antalya. I think it was Antalya or Alanya maybe, I'm not sure. We went there. Where is it allowed? Okay, Turkey, great. So we found a vendor and then, this is a good one. You say, hey, I'm a freelance journalist, I'm planning on selling it. You just say planning, that's the truth. I hadn't got a contract with anyone, but I trusted in my writing and my photography skills and my track record enough to say that I am planning a trip and I'm doing a story on this. And we did a story on it, and I asked, can I have a discount maybe? We're looking for the right vendor, and we will reference you and talk about your company. And I said, can I have 20% discount? And they said, 10, and I said 15. Experienced master of the haggle techniques. And they said, okay. So that's us just right there saving, how much is it then? I don't know, a bunch of money we saved at least on the boat alone. So I think my point is that economy goes in to the creative writing story process, in planning it out. Where are the cheap flights? What can I get a discount on? And this discount thing, I've done it with everything from restaurants to sailboats to a villa again in Indonesia. We got a villa with our own gardener and our own pool for 6 weeks. Didn't pay anything at all because I was doing the story with this guy who ran it's a great place called the Chill House. Recommend it. Check it out. So economy, because there's not a lot of money in this, right? They'll pay you, a lot of magazines pay you £100, euros, dollars approximately for one page. You're lucky, you'll get more than 4 pages, so it's 5, 6. So the economy is not booming in this travel journalism, because there's such a lot of people who want to do it. There's such a lot of stories and stuff out there, but it's possible. But it's smart to think, how much will my expenses be? Like, a lot of the time I just went break even. Some of the times I lost money, but I got a great, amazing experience while doing also creatively what I love. So it's a win-win-win for everybody. And all my friends, they get a cheaper trip. The sailboat is cheaper. So there's something to think about also in economy. Getting more people to share the cost. If it was only me and my wife and my 3-month-old daughter who was not paying a lot to go on this trip, would have lost a bunch of money. Wouldn't have even gone break even. But since I said, hey, my friends, I'm pitching this idea, wouldn't that be great? It's amazing. I'm not trying to trick them, just like you want to go on a different holiday this year and together as couples or friends, and they're like, yeah, let's do that, cool, I planned it out. They just come to a finished table. All right, buy tickets here, that's the taxi there. So you sort of have to be the driver as a freelance journo. You have to find the story, you have to connect the right people, you have to get the discounts, you have to plan the economy, plan the trip. So that is the planning part and how I always approach it. And then on the other end, is the story sellable? Well, I argue that almost every story is sellable because I can look. This is a men's magazine. They bought stories of me of motorbiking in where was it? Morocco, and this is a motorbike magazine. They bought the same story, right? I can do that because they are in completely different niches. They're not competing with each other. And also, there's a motorbike magazine in Norway, in Sweden, in France, in Germany. They're not competing with each other. You can resell the story. So you can. So there's a magazine for everything. That was motorbiking. This is sailing. This is going on a camper van trip. I showed you the street photography before, didn't I? I think so. This was in here, right? And this magazine is a magazine that drug addicts sell on the street. So it's like a social project. They buy the magazine for 25 krona and then they get to sell it for 50. So there's some investment in it for them as well. They buy it and then they sell it, they earn some money. It sort of takes a bit of the load off the state, but also gives them some self-feeling, self-worth, value. They get to meet and interact with other people that aren't only drug addicts and alcoholics. So it's a great project, but point is, where there is a magazine, there is a story, and you, my friend, are going to write and photography that story. You just have to plan it out. And I always plan for economy first on the planning end, and then, yeah, arguably there is a magazine for everything, but it can be a good idea to have some sort of insight into where I want it to go. And that sailboat story, I sold it to Sailors, which is a sail magazine in Norway. I sold it to that men's magazine as well, because they have a boat edition, I found out, for once a year. I just pitched it and they said, yeah, we have an extra boat edition, because men, you know, Norway, it's a rich country, the 50-year-old man, they're all buying boats and sailing, and they're like, it fits in our boat edition, we'll put it in there. So then I got it published 2 places, and then there's the in-flight magazines. That's another good one about going to a destination which is chartered by plane companies. A lot of in-flights magazine might want to buy it, but didn't go with that one. It did on the mountain bike story. Air Asia bought it. Point being that you want someone at the end of it that you know that the story is going to appeal to. You can find them on the end, but I prefer finding them first. And when you've got some track record, if you haven't done anything at all, you could start like a pre-pitch. But yeah, you could. You can start a pre-pitch and say this is a story, this style. Is that something you'd be interested in? Maybe they'll say yes. Maybe they'll say no. Maybe it'll just be a bullshit answer. But after a while, when you get some stuff published, you can say, hey, I'm a freelancer, I publish here. I'm writing this story going there. Would you be interested in that? Especially when you've got sort of a good relationship, then you can start pitching stories before going. You can sort of validate your proof of concept. So then you've got the economy, you've got your proof of concept, or at least some sort of feeling. You know who the customer is. And then you just have to go out and get the story. Go out and do it. And that's all, I think. Should be able to be done by, if like I managed it. I haven't got any education or anything, so if I can do it, well, then you can do it. So go out, get out there and get it done. You're great.